Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. This is a special program concerning with reconciliation, forgiveness and healing, which Ethiopia needs right now in so many ways. And for it to discuss about it, we have got a mother and a consultant that is the one and only Tony Anette. Welcome to the program, Tony.
Thank you.
Diving to the focusing issue that is reconciliation and everything related. I want you to tell us first about your experience here in Ethiopia, what brought you here in Ethiopia. Do you like the place here? Tell us about it.
Well, we come to love Ethiopia and the people of Ethiopia. And I grew up with knowing this nation very well because my family has been involved here since the 1940s, even early 50s. My grandfather came here to invest because the missionary wanted to help also not just building schools and hospitals and churches, but also build business. So they asked him to come and invest. And so he asked what is a good investment. And at that time they said, we need better furniture. So he said, is there a raw material in the nation? Is there environmental friendly possibilities? They said, let's go back and check. And after some time and studies and due diligence, they said, there is what we need. And then they decided to invest. So I think his name became famous in this country also.
Definitely. You have been the trademark in a leading company with regards to Mosvold. Tell us about it.
Well, this is a long story, but I actually found out after I came here through somebody who was in Norway in the 50s that even my great-grandfather had a care for this nation. He knew about it and he started to pray for Ethiopia. And they were business people, and but also very much involved in development. And they loved not only people, but also not only business, but people. So our main business was shipping, but we also did land-based businesses, and they had building material businesses, different kind of businesses. But never had done furniture before, so we had to find clever people in Europe and also machinery, and then we came with a big investment, and it ended up in so many years of building nice Mosvold alga and chairs and sofas, and a shop in the piazza, and many relationships and a lot of good experiences until it was a challenge.
Until it was a challenge.
Yes.
And it's still a work in progress.
Well, it was when the Derg regime came, they nationalized, and we lost all our business. So it ended there.
You are part of the change then.
Yeah.
You are part of the change because the Derg came and then the TPLF came, and now it's the government of Abiy Ahmed.
Yeah.
So with all the change that you have seen, what was the change that you have witnessed? Because you have seen some of it. I think you have seen the period of TPLF, and then now you have seen, starting from 2018, you have seen the government of Abiy. What was the change?
I think we want to focus on the positive and all the things that there was different things that happened, and through the challenges also good things came out of it, and now it's a new season for Ethiopia, and I think we are hopeful for that future, that we want to see progress for the whole of the nation, from north to south, from east to west. And I think this is a climate now, but we really have to focus on how to build friendship, how to build relationship with the foreign countries, the friendly one and everyone, and also inside the country, in spite of our religion, our tribe, our association, how we can come together and look for a better future for Ethiopia. And I'm hoping and I'm thinking that we have to grow a big group of people who have this focus to look for the hopeful future, hope for the unified country, for the nation that will be arising out of all these challenges of poverty and sickness and all the issues, and to become what it's supposed to be, Ethiopia. Huh?
Tell me about your consultancy job, because you have been in the consulting business here in Ethiopia.
Yeah, from early years, I always was interested in, I understood that there's incredibly important to have good leadership. It's from the top of the nation into the home. And that if there is a good leadership, there is a progress, there is a hope, there is a future If there's not a good leadership, there's a big challenge. So I always was interested in that. I've been studying that. I've been working with that. I've been training people and mentoring young people, and also consulting and advising political leaders, business leaders, other people. And also I have experience with teaching and working on peace and reconciliation.
Awesome. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so I have. I was thinking about before this interview, when people think about conflict, when we do our trainings, one of the issues, one of the points we start with, is when you see the word conflict, what comes to your mind?
The only thing is destruction and the losing of lives, property, and everything related.
So that's what people say. Many people say like that. It's blood, it's guns, it's war, it's tears, it's just something so negative. Then we ask again, is there other things can come out of conflict? Is there other issues that you can refer to as a conflict? And people have sometimes big challenges to figure that out, because they saw conflict between parents, sisters, neighbors, tribes, and it's so painful. It's just connected with so many problems. But actually, if you really think about it, conflict can be a really blessing.
If you see it from a positive side.
If you see it from a positive side. It can bring deeper understanding. It can bring new friendships. It can bring insight to new areas. It can bring growth to you personally, as a family, as a group. Conflict can be used also very positively. So we have to also think about that how do you look at it? Is it a negative thing, or can we look it for something beautiful? But it's hard work also. And then also, of course, there are so many people who have studied and worked a lot with these issues. They have done so many PhDs. There are extremely many books written about it. And there's so much to learn. But also when it comes down to the issues, you have to really understand, is it you and me who have a conflict? Is it me who have a conflict inside of me? Or is it a conflict with the systems or the roles? You have to study why is it so difficult now? What is going on here? And then you have to talk. You have to meet each other. You have to come together, and you have to start to build trust and understanding. This is very important. And then, of course, we know that when it comes to almost every conflict, it's going to be like, you're not totally happy and I'm not totally happy. But together we find a solution in the middle. And often, and I think most likely, it also has to do with forgiveness and reconciliation. And that's also a process, which is a big thing to talk about.
Definitely. It is a big thing to talk about. But whenever we talk about reconciliation, in Ethiopian context, we have gone through lots of political grudges because of the things that we have been through. For example, we have been through coups, 2 major coups that brought the end of Haile Selassie I's rule in order to bring the period of the Derg regime. And then after that coup, we have seen on 1991 another coup that brought about TPLF's leadership. So after 2015, we have seen after all the issues related to conflict and uprisings and all, in 2018, we have seen a new government. So with all these issues, there is a cumulative sense of victimhood, sense of grudges. How can we move forward with all these grudges? How can we squash and squeeze these grudges? What is the way forward?
You know, I think there are so many who are very expert on this. But I think one issue is that, you have to start where you are. And one clever thing is to talk about what do we really want for the future. Because if you start to always look back into everything that happened the last 100 years, you can never finish it. And it's so many positions. And there has to be work on that. It has to be, you have to talk about it. You have to bring dialogue. You have to bring understanding. You have to be able to bring your case. But also, I think it's very clever to say, okay, we are here. Like if you talk even to a marriage who are in fighting, you can say, you did this, you did this, you did this, you did this. But okay, what do we need now? And what is our hope for the future? And I think that's a very good starting point. But also the process of personally and a group and a tribe and a party to have this opportunity to be heard and to be able to be reconciled, to be given forgiveness or be granted understanding of your position. It's really, really important on a personal base and a people's base. But the ground for that, as much as I can say, I think it's so much needed that we come together and we sit together and we have to talk and have to find a way to build a trust, which is so difficult. Because we tend on, the more there is division, we tend on demonizing each other, and we start to see each other through lenses that become more and more dirty. And we tend, as a human condition also, we tend to think, I'm better than you. And you know the old saying, if I point finger, it's not difficult, but we should remember also those fingers pointing back to us. So there's a lot of work to be done, and a lot of thinking to be done. And most of all, how can we sit and talk together? And even I believe it's pray together and to think and learn from those who have gone before us. There are so many examples in history, isn't it? Even in our near history, you have, of course, you have Mandela, we have Mahatma Gandhi, people who have terrible experiences, but somehow they were able to be reconciled with themselves, with the situation, and become of a positive change, be part of a positive change.
Going forward with our question, the government of Ethiopia has came up with a good initiative in order to bring this issue of freeing some political party leaders. And then there is this humanitarian truce that we have seen for the first time after a long period of conflict. And there is this amazing deal of national dialogue. Talking about this national dialogue, which brings about consensus, peace, and a way to reconcile between each other. What's your view about national dialogue?
Well, I am not expert on that at all, and I know that's been going on in our country, in your country, and I think it's a very good starting point. And I think we just have to bless it and encourage it and take part in every way we can. And I think it's needed probably in many different variations, these things, even all kinds of communities to take part in it. But when it comes to the bottom line, that's my opinion, it's a change of heart that's needed, which is a difficult thing. I work with people who are in big trouble personally, and to see people transform is a very big challenge. But you have to start somewhere, and I think there has to come different kinds of initiatives. But in the end, it comes to the place where we have to forgive each other and to shake hands and try to find ways to stand together for the good of the people, for the good of the poor, for the women, for the children, for the next generation. I think it's a good saying. I don't know if it's in Amharic or in your country, but we have a saying: when you take over a farm or a business, you want to make it better than it used to be, so you can deliver to next generation. I think that's a great point of view, that we all try to strive to make what we have is even better for those who comes after us. Not to think too much just about me today, here and now, but to think about those who are growing up. How can we prepare the way for them so that they have a better opportunity in life than we do?
Absolutely. But as a person, you have told me that you have been through, you have first-hand experience of the situation in Rwanda. Yes. You have seen first-hand experiences in South Africa too. That brought them to a national dialogue and connection, reconciliation and healing. Tell us about those experiences.
Well, I was the first responder kind of coming into the situation straight after the genocide in Rwanda. I was in Rwanda and in Congo, DRC, in the '94 in August, when they just finished the war. And I saw the millions, actually it was more than 1 million people, children, unaccompanied children, and people who were extremely traumatized. They had blood on their hands. They were shocked. They were without words. They were totally distorted. And in that situation, we came with food and shelter, and we tried to help where we could. and also we try to help the community of believers. But what I found out of that is, in spite of this horrendous situation, in spite of what happened there, it is amazing what have come out of it. That actually Rwanda is a peaceful country. Nobody is perfect. I don't think no country is perfect, no person is perfect, but I think it's really a hope that it's possible. They brought the process there of reconciliation, and we have stories, amazing stories, on how people who were victims and those who did the atrocity, or how they could even reconcile and live together next door to each other. So it's possible. And also I think there are stories, so many stories from South Africa and their commission, that how it was able, how they found a way. So I think this brings hope also to Ethiopia. It might look very dark today. It might look very impossible. And there people are just spreading all kinds of difficult thoughts. Actually, I've been working with people from South Sudan who also have this horrendous experience of being killed, their neighbors being killed, their kids being killed. And we start to talk together and listen and pray and encourage each other. And then the one of the main, very important thing that I could say for this interview is that we should not neglect the importance of our words. Even if I think it's right, I should be very careful with my words, because my words creates what it's sent out. So if I speak about war, killing and hatred and anger, it's producing that. So everyone must be responsible for what kind of words we are using. I have to look into my own vocabulary. You have to walk into our own lives and think about it. What's my attitude? What's my words? What's my saying? And even if I've been done very bad things to, I should be really careful that I speak about future and hope, that I speak a language of peace, of reconciliation, of love. Even if it's so difficult, that's what we should aim for. And actually we are able to see it. We have a capacity. God gave us this capacity. Out of horrible things, beautiful things can arise. And I'm hoping for that for Ethiopia, that we can see a new day dawning in this nation. That we want to bless everyone, that we consider us brothers and sisters. And we want to see, even it's like that in a marriage. If I always think about my right, what I need, and my husband also think that, it's going to be difficult. But if I can focus on how can I serve, how can I love, how can I help, and he do the same, we actually have almost paradise. And actually I have almost paradise in my house.
Awesome, I'm jealous.
Have a very good husband. Yeah, that's a lot of things. But I think those issues, it matters. Even with the children, since they're small, I have to train them how to deal with conflicts, how to deal with themselves. And there are some key principles that need to be taught, even in my countries, how we talk about things when things get bad. I have only 3 boys, so boys, they know how to finish their issues. They fight. Yeah. But I had to train them. You have to explain what's going on. You have to communicate, and you have to find a way to deal with these issues. That is more prosperous than killing each other, than fighting each other.
Definitely. Yeah. That's what we need going forward. Let me get back to the business and investment that you have been having here in Ethiopia. I think there was this engagement with your husband on Yara. Tell us about that experience.
We are very proud in Norway to have this company called Yara. It's producing fertilizer. It's a global company. And we were very happy that Yara wanted to come to Ethiopia with a partner, and they were starting to prepare for a big plant in Afar region in Dalol. And my husband was the GM of that business. And they worked very hard for many years, but somehow they were not able to find solutions together with the entities that were involved with that, which was a very sad thing. So we still kind of have a small hope, but it's also, there's a period of possibilities, and those doors might close. So we should all be careful when the doors is open to try to utilize the chances.
Definitely, that's that's a continuation of what has been tried, and then we need to scale up our efforts in order to do more on what we have. Going forward with this love for Ethiopia, though, you have a deep connection with Ethiopia, in a way even to create a certain family membership, even to a certain senator that you are going to tell me about, in order to bring him to the sides that we are facing, to the truth here in Ethiopia. Tell us about it.
Well, I think that Africa and Ethiopia have something to learn the rest of the world, and that is you are people-oriented people. And I think if you look into the leadership and management and the research now, in the world we're living now, there's a focus on relationship. Actually, they call it more networking. But I have learned for a long time that, of course, we can learn from Mandela, an historical person, but there is one historical person that's nobody even can come close to, and that is Jesus from Nazareth. He lived in Israel and he died in Israel, and also we believe he's not even dead anymore. But as a historical person, we have learned that we can all, even if you are atheist, you're Muslim, Christian, Orthodox, but every one of us can learn from Jesus. So one thing Jesus really taught his followers is that the need of fellowship and friendship and building a community. I don't like the word networking, but I like to think it's more like really developing relationship and friendship. So the story, what you are looking for, is that in the early 1900s, there was a young Norwegian man who went to America to look for a better life, because Norway was one of the poorest countries in Europe before. And now, of course, we have been rated the best country to live in so many years, but that was a different season of Norway. And he worked with the poor, he worked with the minister, he did so many things. But in the 1930s, when there was a depression in America, there was a huge challenge in so many ways. I think we can relate to that so many ways. And he was really very concerned about the situation and praying, which also we should encourage each other to pray a lot. And as he was praying, he really thought that this situation, not only the president and the cabinet and the Senate and House can deal with, actually the business community, the local people, the civil society have to get involved. And he found inspiration from Jesus that if you eat together and talk together and stay together and get to know each other and pray together, actually there can happen miracles. So we try to follow his experience, and in our countries and around the world, to get people to meet together and eat together and pray together, and so we can see change. So his effort was so successful. It brought change, first of all, to Seattle in Washington. Later he went to other states in America, and in the early 50s he came to Washington, D.C., and he encouraged the city government, but also the Senate and the House, to meet together and share life together and pray together. So they've been doing that for more than 70 years. They tell their spiritual journey. They tell about their lives. They give a face beyond their political background or their titles. And then they start to bring understanding to each other, even praying for each other. And that has brought a lot of reconciliation. And from that, the US president heard about that, because in the work they told him, President Eisenhower, that they come from this meeting. And he said, I like to be part of that, because it's very lonely in the White House. So then they invited the president to the breakfast. And since then, the president every year come for a breakfast in Washington, D.C. And there is a sharing, encouraging of the teachings of Jesus. There are Muslims, Hindus, Christian, Catholics, everyone is invited to come and be inspired and build relationship and pray together, so that we can see a better world. And I'm happy that we can bring people from around the world, and meet in every location. We can go and have this experience.
Definitely and absolutely. We need experiences from across the world. Coming back to the national dialogue and the experience in Europe or in your country of origin, Norway, if there anything that we can learn as a society, as a community, is there anything that you can think of, any experience?
I think, you know, the challenge is, one challenge is that as a human being, we actually have a very short memory. Even now, you know, it's 70 years plus since there was a Second World War. We think it's never going to happen. We even forgot about it. When I talk to the young people and mentor young people, I'm surprised sometimes because they don't even know things that happened 20 years ago. They're not aware of it. So I think, for example, in our country, we have had these kind of processes with the indigenous people group that has been treated very badly by the Norwegians. There are other people groups who have been treated badly. So there have been this kind of dialogue, so bring awareness and understanding and also asking for forgiveness and even recompensate them sometimes. It's needed. And to settle the course and to try to move on, that we put a line and we kind of focus in the future. But we need also to deal with what has been in the past. So that's why they established this kind of dialogue. And I think there's so much to learn from each other. You can learn, teach us in Norway, we can bring our competence and knowledge. And together we have a lot of insight to these things.
Definitely, definitely. Let's come back to the ugliest thing in the world, that is war.
Yes.
War, in my opinion, is never a solution. Will never be a solution to. So, with the things that is going on around the world, not only in Africa, but also Europe, with the Russo-Ukrainian conflict that we are witnessing now, one thing that I can say is the focus on humanity is deteriorating as we speak. Not everybody is focusing on humanity. For example, people are migrating from one place to another, and not every country is going to accept them as human beings and as irregular migrants. So the focus on humanity is definitely deteriorating right now. So I want you to take us through those experiences and give us your take on that.
I think, you know, when we talk about war and we talk about peace, I think war is the absence of peace. But what we need is peace. And it's not just about war, it's also so much more. And actually we can learn a lot from the Holy Scriptures. What about peace? To build it has so many meanings to it. But for me also, I agree with you, war is horrible and the consequences are so damaging. It's it's not even a solution, it's a very low way of dealing with issues. But for me, how I saw it, one of the things I saw with it, has to do a lot with how you view the world, how you view human beings. And if we have a very materialistic thinking, a human being is just another piece. But if you have a view that every human being is valuable in the eyes of God, every human being is unique, we need everyone, that will change the whole picture. And to be reminded that of the human dignity, the human rights, this is so important. And it's difficult to talk about this war because the more you grow in understanding and insight, you understand there's so many layers to it. There's so many things. As a simple person from Norway, there's so much things behind it, it's hard to understand. So you can feel helpless and hopeless about that. So what to do? What shall we do? We lose hope even. But we must not lose hope. That's really important. That we can pray and we can think about what we can do. And I'm happy to see in my country now when this happened, a lot of good initiative happen. People open their homes, they drive down to Ukraine, pick up refugees, and it released such a empathy and a love for the people, which also gives hope. And then the big political issues, for me, I have to leave it to somebody who can really deal with that. And but also, I think one thing I learned from that also, that there is a danger of just waiting and waiting and waiting. I think there should be intervention long time ago. There should be, you know, when you let this thing grow, boil, and then suddenly these things happen. So this is also a lesson for us privately, in all these different levels, that we should not take lightly when there are issues. We should, you know, even the scripture says a very interesting, challenging word. You shouldn't not let the sun go down over your anger. That means we should keep short account. We should, you know, I can only speak on a private basis, but to be very much aware of that, we keep being reconciled on a continuous basis. That's really important. But that war is so many implications. It's so even difficult to talk about. And of course, if you listen to the people on this side and this side, they have so different views. And it's hard to say anything to that, I think.
As a person, finally, as a person who have been here in Ethiopia, who loved Ethiopia, what's your hope for Ethiopia?
Well, I think Ethiopia has a unique history and a unique future. And I think Ethiopia is a very, very beautiful people. It has so many beautiful culture, food, everything. There's so much beautiful here. And I think and I'm hoping and praying that Ethiopia will become all she can be, even to encourage the rest of the continent, and even for the world, that they will say, look to this country, it's possible. In spite of everything, there is hope, there is a possibility, there is a future to live together, to love each other, to learn from each other, to look to the Lord for hope and a future and a better tomorrow.
Thank you, Tony, Anette, for blessing us with your time. Thank you for all the energy and the positivity for Ethiopia. And dear viewers, this is what we have got for you inside this special edition on reconciliation, healing, and forgiveness. I hope you have a lovely time. And till we come with a different edition, it's a bye-bye.